again. So I don't know. I can't. I haven't heard a better name yet. So.
Texas League's already taken baseball.
What's that?
Texas League's already taken baseball.
Okay.
Mike, do you think it's fair to say that a significant portion of the OSU fan base and alumni were for a move to the Pac-10 and were disappointed by how this turned out, and what would you say to them?
They probably were, but I think at the end of the day, when they step back, I think they've got to love the opportunity to go to more games. And every team that we play now in the conference is within driving distance. I think that's attractive. Might be kind of compelling to want to go to the West Coast, and we can still do that in the non-conference schedule. But I really feel like travel for our fans, coaches, and athletes is much better given the model that we've got right now.
You had said earlier in this press conference that when Texas made their announcement, it nullified the decision or the agreement that you had made, I believe. Did you?
Well, we never really had an agreement. We had an offer, but as I said, the offer was contingent on everyone agreeing to move. So you had to have unanimity.
So what was she didn't decide when you were moved?
Well, no, it was all in. So one school broke ranks. You know, and I don't think that Texas was going anywhere without Oklahoma, and Oklahoma wasn't going anywhere without Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State wasn't going anywhere without those schools, because who wants to be the orphan? You know, if you could have one school that could have made the move to the Pac-10, this is a long way. If you're the lone stranger out here in the middle of the United States and all your competitors in your conference are on the West Coast, that's not once or twice a year you're going to make that road trip. It's 5 or 6 times a year in football. And I think that's one of the reasons that the plan came together as it did. You wanted to have some people to play in your natural area, your home base, and then the opportunity to go to the West Coast and play a couple of more opponents. But you wouldn't want to make that trip on a regular basis, especially in basketball. Can you imagine that? I can't.
Yeah, I guess my question was, of the 5 teams, have you guys decided on your votes? If you would rather go with the 5?
We never got together as a group. We were met with individually by Larry Scott and Kevin Weiberg and a couple other members of their staff, and presented the proposal and the opportunity. That's all. We never got together on a conference call, the 5 athletic directors. We never had a meeting anywhere. We never really had a chance to get to that point, because by the time the presentation had been made to the 5 schools, one of the schools decided that they liked where they were a lot better, and so they opted to stay.
What's going to happen with scheduling next season, 2011?
I don't know. That's something that's going to have to be addressed, because I read in the newspaper that Nebraska expects to exit after this football season. That's a little bit awkward, but we've got a lot of smart people in the conference office, and Tim Allen does a great job with scheduling, so I'm sure that he'll come up with something that'll mitigate that.
Cost you a trip to Lincoln?
Well, you know, we're ready, willing, and able to go up there and play them in Lincoln if we owe them a game. But I guess if they're going to play a full Big Ten schedule, it'll be a little bit difficult.
Last question. You ready?
I'll take it. Like Big 12, obviously a powerful conference in football and basketball. Was there any just pride in there where y'all were going, why should we be dismantled? We're one of the powers in the nation. We don't want to be dismantled to go to these other, even weaker conferences.
Yeah, you know, it's disconcerting. You know, to look at the success that we've had, and how many times we've had a team play in the BCS championship game, the success that we've had in basketball. I mean, just across the board, so many sports. And to think that no one was talking about leaving the Big Ten or the SEC or the Pac-10, and you ask yourself, why us? And I think it was probably for 2 reasons. One, that level of success that we talked about, maybe 3 reasons. That level of success made us attractive. We got a lot of members of this conference that are very, very good, especially in the sport of football. Our location, right in the middle of the United States, which makes us vulnerable for encroachment from the SEC or the Big Ten or the Pac-10. We're the logical place to find attractive members. And then the current disparity in revenue from television contracts between the Big Ten, the SEC, and the Big 12. You know, we're right now, this last year, at $78 million from our network and cable contract. I think the SEC is in the neighborhood of $190 million. I've seen numbers for the Big Ten around $200 million plus. So huge disparity. So that's attractive. You know, to have a chance to change conferences and get a pay raise immediately. But I think the message from Dan Beebe was correct in that just wait a minute. You know, let's hold ranks. We'll change that dynamic the next round of negotiations. Unfortunately, the last time we negotiated a contract, the times weren't as favorable as they were when the SEC did their deal, and that's going to work itself out. We've had he had extensive talks with networks and cable operators, and he was convinced that when our contract comes up for renewal, and that we're going to be compensated, and we believe that. That's why a lot of the projections you see out there have shown how much better we're going to be off, how much better off we're going to be starting in about 2012.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, thanks for showing up. Appreciate your time.